The lie slipped out easier than I expected, like a breath I didn't know I was holding. I'm gay, I told my parents, watching their faces freeze in the dim glow of our Houston living room, the weight of their expectations crumbling like dry Texas earth. I was 22, drowning in their endless demands to be the perfect son, and that lie was my lifeline, a desperate bid to stop the fights, the pressure, the suffocating mold of their vision for me. It worked. Too well. The arguments stopped, replaced by awkward silences and forced smiles. My mother, ever the peacemaker, started inviting nice boys to dinner, her way of showing she was trying. My father, a man of steel and oil money, just nodded, his disappointment buried under a veneer of acceptance. I played along, weaving a web of half-truths, fake dates, vague stories, anything to keep the fragile peace. I wasn't gay, but I wasn't straight either. I was just lost, drifting in a world that demanded I pick a side. Then came the call that changed everything. My father's voice crackled through the phone one humid July evening. Evan, you're getting married. I laughed, thinking it was a joke, but his tone was iron. It's a business deal. You're marrying Cole Ramsey, the oil tycoon from Dallas. He's like you. My stomach dropped. Cole Ramsey, 32, was a name whispered in boardrooms and feared in bars, a man with a reputation for ruthlessness. His wealth built on broken deals and shattered lives. And he was openly gay, a fact that made him a convenient pawn in my father's latest scheme to merge our family's struggling energy company with Ramsey's empire. I protested, my voice shaking. Dad, I barely know him. But he cut me off. You said you're gay. This is what you wanted, isn't it? A way to secure the family legacy. The lie I'd spun to escape their control had become a cage. I was trapped, forced into an engagement with a man I'd never met. A man whose cold blue eyes I'd only seen in grainy news photos. The wedding was set for 3 months from now, a lavish spectacle to seal the deal. I had no choice but to meet him, to face the consequences of my own deception. The diner in Austin was our meeting place, a neutral ground far from Houston's suffocating expectations. I arrived early, my palms sweaty, my heart pounding like a jackhammer. The jukebox hummed a mournful country tune, and the air smelled of grease and coffee. I slid into a booth, staring at the door, dreading the moment it would swing open. When it did, Cole Ramsey walked in, and the room seemed to shrink. He was taller than I expected, his frame lean but commanding, his dark hair swept back, and those piercing blue eyes locked onto me like a predator sizing up prey. You're Evan, he said, not a question, his voice low and edged with something I couldn't place amusement. Maybe, or disdain. He slid into the booth across from me, his tailored suit out of place in the diner's worn decor. So, you're the kid who's supposed to be my husband. His lips curled into a smirk, but there was no warmth in it. I bristled, my lie burning in my throat. I didn't ask for this, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Neither did I, he shot back, leaning forward. But here we are, playing our parts. So, tell me, Evan, how much of this gay thing is real? And how much is just you running from Daddy's shadow? His words hit like a punch. He knew. Somehow, he saw through the facade I'd built, and it terrified me. I opened my mouth to deny it, to double down on the lie, but his gaze held me, daring me to be honest. For the first time, I felt exposed, raw, like he could see the mess of doubts and fears I'd buried for years. I did what I had to. I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. Cole leaned back, his smirk fading. Yeah, he said softly. Me too. That night, I couldn't sleep. Cole's words echoed in my head, mingling with the weight of the engagement, the lie, the looming wedding. I'd lied to escape my family's control. But now I was tethered to a man who seemed to carry his own secrets, his own scars. I didn't know if I could trust Heimer, if I could trust myself. All I knew was that the diner meeting was just the beginning, and the road ahead was going to be a storm. The next morning, I woke to a text from Cole, "Meet me at the ranch. Noon. We need to talk." No pleasantries. No explanation, just a command. I stared at the screen, my gut twisting. The ranch was his domain, a sprawling estate outside Dallas where he ruled like a king. Going there felt like walking into a lion's den, but I had no choice. I threw on a flannel shirt and jeans, trying to look like I belonged in his world, and drove north, the Texas sun beating down on my old pickup. The Ramsey Ranch was a fortress of wealth, acres of rolling hills, sleek horses grazing under live oaks, and a mansion that looked like it belonged in a movie. Cole was waiting on the porch, his posture relaxed but his eyes sharp, like he was sizing me up again. "You're late," he said, though I was right on time. I bit back a retort and followed him inside, where polished wood and leather furniture screamed money. He led me to a study, walls lined with books and a massive desk that probably cost more than my truck. "All right, Evan," he said, leaning against the desk, arms crossed. "Let's cut the crap. This marriage is a business deal, but I'm not here to play house with a liar." His words stung, but I held his gaze. "I'm not a liar," I said, though the words felt hollow. I said what I had to survive my family. "You don't know what it's like." Cole's laugh was sharp, bitter. "Don't I? My father disowned me when I came out at 19. Kicked me out with nothing. I built this," he gestured to the room, "the ranch, the empire from scratch. So don't tell me I don't know." I swallowed, caught off guard. His story wasn't what I expected. The news painted him as a heartless tycoon. But this was a man who'd clawed his way up, who'd faced rejection and fought back. "Then why agree to this?" I asked. "You don't need my family's company." Cole's eyes darkened. "It's not about need. It's about leverage. Your father's desperate, and I'm not one to pass up an opportunity. But you," he stepped closer, his voice dropping, "you're the wild card. I need to know you won't screw this up." I wanted to hate him, to see him as the cruel tycoon everyone warned me about. But there was something in his voice, a crack in the armor that made me pause. "I'm not here to ruin anything," I said. "I just want out of this mess." Cole studied me, his gaze intense, searching. "Then we play the part," he said finally. "Publicly, we're the perfect couple. Privately, we're strangers. Deal?" I nodded, but the weight of his words settled like a stone in my chest. Strangers. That's what we were, bound by a lie and a contract. Over the next few weeks, we fell into a strange rhythm. Public appearances, galas, charity events, photo ops where we smiled, held hands, played the happy couple. Cole was a natural, charming the cameras with his easy confidence, while I fumbled, my smile stiff, my heart racing every time his hand brushed mine. The world ate it up, headlines screaming about the power couple uniting two Texas dynasties. But behind closed doors, we barely spoke. He was all business, his walls impenetrable, and I was too scared to push, too afraid of what I might find or what I might feel. One night, after a particularly grueling event, we ended up at a dive bar on the outskirts of Dallas. I don't know why he suggested it, but I followed, desperate for a break from the charade. The bar was dim, crowded, the kind of place where no one cared who we were. We sat in a corner, nursing beers, the silence between us heavy. "You're not what I expected," Cole said suddenly, his voice low. I looked up, surprised. "What did you expect?" He shrugged his eyes on his bottle. "Someone weaker. Someone who'd break under the pressure." I laughed, a little bitter. I'm not that strong. He met my gaze, and for a moment, the mask slipped. You're still here, he said. That's something. That night, something shifted. It wasn't trust. Not yet. But it was a crack in the wall between us. I started to see glimpses of the man behind the tycoon, the one who'd fought for everything he had, who carried wounds he didn't show. And I wondered, for the first time, if my lie had led me to something real. The wedding loomed closer, a dark cloud on the horizon. 2 months left, and the pressure was suffocating. Dress fittings, guest lists, my mother's endless calls about flowers and vows. I played along, but every detail felt like another bar in my cage. Cole, meanwhile, seemed unfazed, handling the chaos with the same cool efficiency he used in boardrooms. But I noticed the tension in his jaw, the way his eyes flickered when reporters asked about our love story. He was as trapped as I was, just better at hiding it. One afternoon, he called me to his office downtown, a glass tower that screamed power. We need to talk about the prenup, he said, sliding a stack of papers across his desk. I skimmed the terms: assets divided, no claims on each other's companies, a clause about mutual discretion. It was cold, clinical, a reminder that this was a transaction, not a marriage. Looks fair, I said, signing without hesitation. Cole watched me, his expression unreadable. You don't even read it, he asked. I shrugged. Does it matter? We both know what this is. He leaned back, a flicker of something respect, maybe crossing his face. You're learning, he said. But the prenup wasn't what weighed on me. It was the lie, growing heavier every day. I'd never been honest with Cole. Not really. And the guilt gnawed at me. I wasn't gay, but the more time I spent with him, the more I questioned everything. His presence stirred something in me, Andrew. Yes, but also a pull I couldn't name. It wasn't attraction. Not exactly. But it was something. And it scared me. That night, I drove to a quiet park on the edge of town, needing space to think. The stars were bright, the air cool, and I sat on a bench, replaying every moment with Cole. The way he challenged me, the way he saw through me, the way his rare smiles made my chest tighten. I was so lost in thought I didn't hear footsteps until he was there, standing a few feet away, hands in his pockets. You're hard to track down, he said, his voice softer than usual. I froze. How'd you find me? He smirked. I have my ways. He sat beside me, the silence stretching. You're freaking out, he said finally. It wasn't a question. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. This is all too much. The wedding, the lies, everything. Cole nodded, staring at the stars. You want out? He asked. I looked at him, surprised. Do you? He didn't answer right away, his jaw tight. I've been out since I was a kid, he said at last. I fought for it. But this isn't freedom. It's just a different kind of chain. His honesty stunned me, and for the first time, I saw the weight he carried, the cost of his empire. I'm not gay, I blurted out, the words spilling before I could stop them. Cole's head snapped toward me, his eyes narrowing. What? I took a breath, the truth burning my throat. I said it to stop my parents fighting, to get them off my back. I didn't think it'd lead to this. I gestured vaguely, meaning him, the marriage, the mess. Cole stared at me, his expression unreadable, and for a moment, I thought he'd walk away. Then he laughed, a low, bitter sound. You're a piece of work, Evan, he said. But you're honest. That's something. He didn't leave. We sat there, talking for hours about his past, my fears, the absurdity of our situation. For the first time, I felt like I was seeing the real Cole, not the tycoon, not the facade. And I realized, with a jolt, that I didn't want to lose him not as a partner in this charade, but as something more. The confession changed everything. Cole didn't trust easily, and I'd just admitted to a lie that could unravel our carefully staged alliance. But instead of pulling away, he leaned in, challenging me to prove I wasn't just playing another game. "You want to make this work?" he asked the next day, over coffee at his ranch. "Then no more lies." "Not with me." I nodded, my heart pounding. I didn't know what this was, our fake engagement, our partnership, or something deeper, but I wanted to find out. We started spending more time together, not just for show. He took me to his favorite spots, a hole-in-the-wall taco stand, a quiet lake where he fished as a kid. I saw sides of him the world didn't, the way he laughed at bad puns, the way he listened when I talked about my dreams of escaping Houston's shadow. But there were moments when his walls went back up, when a phone call or a mention of his father's name turned him cold. I wanted to ask, to dig deeper, but I sensed he wasn't ready. The wedding planning intensified, a whirlwind of caterers, photographers, and my mother's tearful hugs. Cole handled it with his usual precision, but I could tell it wore on him. One night, after a tense call with his lawyer, he snapped at me over something trivial, a misplaced RSVP list. "Can't you do one thing right?" he barked, then stopped, his face softening. "I'm sorry," he said, running a hand through his hair. "This isn't about you." I wanted to push, to ask what was eating him, but I just nodded. "I know." The next day, he showed up at my apartment unannounced, a bottle of whiskey in hand. "Peace offering," he said, a half-smile tugging at his lips. We sat on my cramped balcony, passing the bottle, the city lights sprawling below. "My father's trying to sabotage the deal," he admitted after a long silence. "He's spreading rumors, saying I'm unstable, that the marriage is a sham." I froze, the whiskey burning my throat. "Is he right?" I asked, half joking. Cole's eyes met mine, steady, intense. "Not about you," he said. "This, us, it's the only thing that feels real right now." His words hit me hard. I'd spent so long hiding behind lies, behind fear that I didn't know how to handle something real. But Cole was real, raw, and complicated, and I was falling for him, not because of the lie or the deal, but because of who he was. That night, as we sat closer than we needed to, I felt the first spark of something dangerous, hope. Then came the bombshell. A week later, my father called, his voice grim. "Evan, there's a problem. Ramsey's company is under investigation, fraud, tax evasion, the works. If this goes south, our family's tied to it." My heart sank. Cole hadn't mentioned anything, but the timing felt too convenient. Was his father behind this? Or was Cole hiding something worse? I confronted him that night, my voice shaking. "Did you know about the investigation?" His face hardened, but he didn't deny it. "It's under control," he said. "Just trust me." But trust was fragile, and I wasn't sure I could afford it. The investigation hung over us like a storm cloud. Cole brushed it off in public, all charm and confidence, but I saw the strain in his eyes, the late nights he spent on the phone with lawyers. I wanted to believe him, to trust that he had it under control, but doubt crept in. What if he was the ruthless tycoon everyone said he was? What if I was just a pawn in his game? The wedding was 6 weeks away, and I was torn between running and staying. We kept up appearances, attending events, smiling for cameras, but the tension between us grew. One night, at a gala in Houston, a reporter cornered me. "Evan, is it true Cole's using you to clean up his image?" I froze, my rehearsed smile faltering. Cole stepped in, his hand on my shoulder, his voice smooth. We're here to celebrate love, not rumors. The crowd laughed, but his grip tightened, a silent warning. Later, in the car, he exploded. You can't let them get to you. Evan. You hesitate. They pounce. I shot back. Maybe if you told me the truth, I wouldn't be blindsided. He went quiet, his hands gripping the wheel. You want the truth, he said finally. I'm fighting for my life here, and you're the only thing keeping me grounded. His vulnerability disarmed me. I wanted to ask about the investigation, about his father, but the look in his eyes stopped me. Instead, I reached for his hand, a small gesture that felt huge. He didn't pull away. That night, we didn't talk about the deal or the wedding. We just sat, hands clasped, the silence saying more than words could. But the world didn't stop. My father's warnings grew louder, urging me to back out. He's trouble. Evan, you don't know what you're getting into. I ignored him, but the seed of doubt grew. Then came the leak in news article detailing Cole's alleged fraud, with my name dragged into it. Groom or accomplice. The headline screamed. I felt sick, betrayed. I stormed to Cole's office, slamming the article on his desk. Did you know about this? He looked at the paper, his face pale. Evan, I swear, I cut him off. Stop. Just tell me the truth. Are you using me? He stood, closing the distance between us. I'm not using you, he said, his voice raw. I've been fighting my father's lies for years. He's behind this, trying to ruin me. But you, he paused, his hand brushing my cheek. You're the one thing he can't touch. I wanted to believe him, but fear held me back. I need time, I said, stepping away. He nodded, his eyes heavy with something like regret. Take it, but don't run. I spent the next few days in a haze, avoiding Cole, avoiding my family. I wandered Houston streets, replaying every moment we'd share: the diner, the park, the balcony. I wasn't just fighting for my freedom anymore. I was fighting for him, for us, and I didn't know if I was strong enough. I couldn't avoid Cole forever. A week later, he showed up at my door, his usual confidence replaced by something raw, almost desperate. We need to talk, he said, stepping inside before I could protest. The apartment felt smaller with him in it, his presence overwhelming. I'm not letting you walk away without knowing the truth, he said, his voice steady but urgent. My father's been after me since I took the company from him. The investigation, the leaks, it's all him. He wants to destroy me, and he'll use you to do it. I stared at him, torn between anger and longing. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. I deserve to know. Cole ran a hand through his hair, pacing. Because I didn't want you to look at me like I'm the villain. I've spent my life proving I'm not him. His voice broke, and I saw a boy who'd been cast out, the man who'd built walls to survive. I stepped closer, my voice soft. I'm not running, Cole, but I need you to let me in. He looked at me, his eyes searching, and then he did something I didn't expect. He pulled me into a hug, fierce and unyielding, like he was afraid I'd disappear. I'm trying, he whispered. I'm trying to be someone you can trust. I held him back, my heart racing, the line between pretense and reality blurring. In that moment, I didn't care about the lie that started this. I cared about him. We spent the next few weeks rebuilding, not just for the cameras, but for us. He opened up about his past: the abuse, the rejection, the fight to prove himself. I told him about my own fears, the pressure to be someone I wasn't. We were two people caught in a storm, clinging to each other. The wedding was a month away, and for the first time, it didn't feel like a trap. It felt like a choice. But the world wasn't done with us. A week before the wedding, My father called me to a meeting at his office. He wasn't alone. Cole's father, a grizzled man with cold eyes, sat across from him, a smug smile on his face. "Evan, sit," my father said. "We're calling off the wedding." My heart stopped. "What?" Cole's father leaned forward. "My son's a liability. The investigation's going to bury him. You don't want to go down with him." I looked at my father, betrayal burning in my chest. "You're siding with him." My father sighed. "It's for your own good, Evan." I stood, shaking with anger. "You don't get to decide what's good for me." "Not anymore." I walked out, my mind racing. I had to find Cole. I had to tell him I was all in, no matter what came next. I found Cole at the ranch, staring out over the hills, his face etched with exhaustion. "They're trying to stop the wedding," I said, breathless. He turned, his eyes dark. "I know. My father's been pulling strings, using the investigation to scare your family off." I stepped closer, my voice firm. "I'm not scared. I'm not walking away." He looked at me, surprise flickering in his eyes. "You mean that?" I nodded. "I choose you, Cole. Not the deal, not the lie. You." For a moment, he just stared. Then he pulled me close, his lips crashing into mine. The kiss was desperate, raw, a release of everything we'd held back. It wasn't about the lie anymore, or the deal, or the world watching. It was us, real and undeniable. When we pulled apart, breathless, he smiled a real smile, not the Tycoon's mask. "You're gonna regret this," he teased, but his eyes were soft. "Never," I said, meaning it. The final week was chaos. Cole's lawyers fought the investigation, uncovering evidence that his father had fabricated the charges. My family tried to pull me back, but I stood my ground, refusing to bend. Cole and I planned in secret, turning the wedding into something that was ours, not a spectacle for the world. We scaled it back, inviting only those who mattered, choosing a small chapel on the ranch instead of a grand venue. The night before the wedding, we sat under the stars, just like that night in the park. "You sure about this?" he asked, his voice quiet. I took his hand, my heart steady. "I've never been surer." He squeezed my hand, his voice barely a whisper. "I love you, Evan." The words hit me like a wave, and I realized I'd been falling for him too, maybe from the start. "I love you too," I said, and it felt like freedom. The wedding day was a blur, vows, tears, the weight of a new beginning. As we stood together, hands clasped, I saw my parents in the crowd, their faces a mix of resignation and hope. Cole's father wasn't there. He'd lost, and we'd won not just the deal, but something far more precious. The honeymoon was a quiet escape to a cabin in Colorado, far from Texas and its chaos. We spent days hiking, laughing, learning each other in ways we hadn't had time for before. Cole was different here, lighter, unguarded, his laughter echoing through the mountains. I realized this was the man I'd fought for, the one I'd chosen over fear and lies. Back in Texas, the investigation collapsed. Cole's name cleared, his father's schemes exposed. Our family's companies merged, but it wasn't about business anymore. It was about us, building a life together. My parents came around, slowly, their love for me outweighing their doubts. Cole's past still haunted him, but I was there, and he was there for me, and that was enough. Looking back, the lie that started it all was my greatest mistake and my greatest gift. It tore me apart, forced me to face who I was, and led me to Cole. I wasn't gay when I said I was, but love doesn't care about labels. It's messy, complicated, and real. And as I stood beside Cole, watching the Texas sun set over the ranch, I knew I'd found my truth not in a lie, but in him. The world still watched, still judged, but we didn't care. We'd built something stronger than their headlines, something that could weather any storm. And as Cole pulled me close, his breath warm against my ear, I knew we'd keep fighting, keep loving, keep choosing each other. Because in the end, that's what mattered most.